Hey there, amplifiers. Thanks for tuning in. When it comes to amplifying your business, we can easily get tunnel vision because we only can know so many things. We know our profession typically, but we don't know what we don't know. And that's why it's helpful to have uh, a guide that has looked out and seen different things and different perspectives. And it's even cooler when you can find someone that's certified or has the designations to say, hey, this person knows what they're talking about because they've studied in this area. And we're going to be looking at that today with a professional who has really put a lot of time and attention with fleshing out his knowledge and building the experience to help provide transformation to those he serves. And one of the things I really like about our guest today is he has the right mindset. He has the growth amplifier mindset that you never know enough. There's always an opportunity to amplify. There's always an opportunity to continue to sharpen the saw. And that's what we're going to be talking today about, is just how we could do that. So I'd like to welcome Mike to Growth Amplifiers podcast. Michael, glad to have you join us today. I'm going to do a quick introduction. Michael is the owner of Meilinger Consulting. He has a plethora of certifications, as mentioned. He's been in public accounting since 1995. And one of his claims to fame is he's never failed a professional exam. And like I said, he has the right energy, the right attitude. Without further ado, Michael, welcome to Growth Amplifiers.
Well, also, and thank you, Kenny. And I just want to point out to the audience that the Meilinger Consulting is like the second business that we started after I sold my first CPA firm. I do have a CPA firm that focuses on tax planning, CFO work, and that's the Meilinger.us site. And that's a little more, the litigation one is very specific, but definitely a big believer in what you're talking about. I think everyone should have a growth mindset, right? And the biggest thing I always try to tell people who I talk to is, the biggest advantage to working with a CPA is not because I'm so successful and my business is so great. We do have a good business, right? We've grown. We've over the last 10 years, we've grown by 1,000%. But we started small, and we grow about 30% a year, and we're looking forward to doing that. But the biggest thing that I think people can learn from me is that we work. I mean, our tagline is CPA Advisors to the 1%. So we work with a lot of successful clients. Like I had a client that we worked with for 2 years that exited for close to $50 million. I had another client we've been working with that's clipped 100 million, 125 million in revenue. Numerous clients that have grown significantly. So we're able to observe, right? We're able to observe, see what they do, and then learn from their mistakes and learn from what makes them successful. So the one thing I always tell, and I even tell my clients that are busy, is that are really successful, is hey, don't ever think you've made it, right? I mean, the thing is, I tell myself this all the time to stay humble. My business, although I think it's great and it does well and everything, it's not even a pimple on the butt of Greenville's economy, right? So the thing is so if I was to disappear, my employees would be disappointed. We have about 20 employees and all this, but really, I'm not Elon Musk. I'm not Jeff Bezos. I would love to be those guys, but there's so much room to improve, right? The biggest room in the world is the room for improvement.
So I would love to hear kind of like what got you into this profession in the first place. What's the story that got you here and why you do what you do?
Well, like a lot of people, I sort of accidentally stumbled into this career. It's original. I was in the Marine Corps, served in the first Gulf War, was a veteran, came back and was a supervisor and trainee for some convenience stores and working in a store in Anderson. And I ran across an FBI agent. At that time, I was majoring in business. And, I was like, hey, I'd love to be an FBI agent. How do I become one? And he asked me, what are you majoring in? I said, business. He said, well, the FBI is not going to hire you with a business major. You have to go and get a degree in accounting, right? So instantly like that, I changed
Huh.
my degree to accounting because I wanted to go work with the FBI. Well, when I was in accounting, I was sort of, I was one of these really underperformers growing up. I was really smart, didn't have to take a lot of, didn't have to study for tests and everything, but a lot of my friends had went to Harvard, went to Duke, because I was on the debate team with a bunch of people that were really sharp. And I was sitting there at the University of South Carolina, Spartanburg, and in an old library building with about 60 kids. And met my wife that night too. But
Oh, wow.
the professor of the class was like, hey, I don't care that you're in this small school. I don't care if you're doing this. Um, the CPA is the great equalizer. He goes, if you pass the CPA exam at the first sitting, no one will ever ask you where you went to school. So you'll have the same degree as Notre Dame. You'll have the same degree as all these other schools. So I said, well, shoot, I'll just, hey, I'll just prove to everyone and I'll pass the CPA exam first sitting. And, so that became my goal. I quickly got diverted from the FBI goal, even though I did go back, interview, got to the third interview with the FBI, and you cannot have attention deficit and work with the FBI, because the thing I failed was they put you like in a room for about 5 minutes and you walk out, and then they ask you stuff like, okay, what was the clock time on the clock and where was this and all that. So I washed out of that part of the exam, but I did tell the guys, I was pretty cocky back then, and basically I said, well, if you don't hire me, I'll just become a millionaire. So the thing is and so they didn't hire me. Probably a good choice, but anyway, that's how I became a CPA. I sort of fell into it.
Well, isn't that interesting? The journeys that we go on, the things that kind of craft us to our place. It's not always what we set out to be, but sometimes we find our way, right? Um, so we're going to jump into the big three, and here's what I've got for us, Mike. We're going to talk a little bit about mindset and accountability. How do you prime yourself to continue to elevate? I love your mindset. Some of the things you shared with me when we were connecting up in Atlanta, I found really impressive and really cool. And I don't see that in a lot of people. So I thought that would be cool to talk about. You kind of were hovering around this earlier, but then how you differentiate, how do you stand out from others? There's a lot of other people that can call themselves CPAs and or accountants, but you obviously do things differently. You have a different way of being. And then last but not least, what can we do to reject fear? Actually, I don't think that's the question, but we'll see if that's the question when we get there. But let's start with this one. Mindset and accountability. So you're actively focused on continuing to challenge yourself. You mentioned it earlier. You like to not just settle and say, "Oh, I'm good now. I made it." How did you gain that awareness in the first place? And then what are the things that you do and recommend doing to help people stay in that mindset that they need to continue to push and climb?
Well, I think the biggest secret to mindset is recognizing that it's something that you have to work on continuously, period, right?
Hmm.
You know, because it's very easy to get frustrated. It's very easy to get dragged down into negativity, and it's very easy to get into an ungrateful state, right? And
Mm.
so I think the biggest thing that people need to do is a couple things. One is learn to be grateful for everything in your life. I mean, period. Because the thing is we all have so much things to be thankful for. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, if you're able to, if you have your health, if you in a good relationship, if you have healthy family members, there's so many things that we could be thankful for, and we don't really appreciate. I mean, it's very easy. I mean, in the Marine Corps or in life, right?
Hmm.
Everything that all of a sudden comes into existence becomes our birthright, right? Like, we have a great wife. I have a beautiful wife that just is really supports me and everything. But, I mean, she spoils me. So now, like all of a sudden, I'm very lucky she makes coffee in the morning. That's the first thing she does is, or the last thing she does before she goes to bed is get the coffee ready. Well, all of a sudden it's not made. First thing I'll be like, damn it, why didn't she make coffee? Then I realized, hey, I need to be grateful for the fact that I have a beautiful wife that actually is is thinks that it's important to make the coffee for me, right? I mean,
Right.
it's because we just get stuck in that. The second thing, and I think this is what you really preach a lot of, is you got to get around people who are better, think bigger. That's the biggest, that's the secret. The secret to success and the secret to failure can be summed up in two words: peer pressure. If
Mm,
you get the right peer pressure, you can do anything. I mean, uh, if any of your audience hasn't watched The Last Dance, right? I mean, I've watched The Last Dance, which is the show about Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls in the '90s, and it talks about how just intense Michael Jordan was, and everyone thought he was the biggest. I'm trying not to swear. Everyone thought he was the biggest butt butthole, I guess. But the thing
right.
is but his teammates really learned to appreciate how he elevated their game. And it's just, I mean, that's a great show. But when you get around people that are thinking bigger and operating better, you start to realize a couple things. One, they're not that much smarter than you. In fact, they're probably not as smart as the average person listening to this. um, that's the truth. Intelligence sometimes gets in the way of being successful, right? Because we overthink it, and don't
Right.
and why successful people overdo it, right? I just came up with that. That's a pretty good quote. We overthink. Most successful people overdo, right? They get into action, they do stuff. So I think that's the most important thing: getting around positive people who really think that life's going to get better, who really want to get better, who thinks there's more abundance out there. I mean, that's the biggest thing I would tell you. I've started several mastermind groups, about to create another one. But the biggest thing I did one time is I just called my most successful client I knew. This was about 10 years ago. Said, hey, let's create a mastermind. He said, sure. So basically, and then I called another guy who we looked up on the internet was the richest person in Greenville, South Carolina, and we got him to join the group. And we started meeting. I think we started meeting at least once a month. Maybe it was twice a month. We just started hanging out, talking about business issues and everything. We got a couple other people in there, and then we started another one, right? And we started a simple one where, and based on just real estate investment. And again, I reached out to my successful clients, said, "Hey, I'm pulling this group of people together. There'll be a small fee. This one we charge a small fee for, and it's really got people elevated thinking. And what it forced me to do,
Hmm.
because literally I was the most unsuccessful person in the room, it forced me to elevate my mind game. I had to bring something to the group every time because I was the leader. And you'd be shocked, because I'd be like, gosh, I got to teach someone something. Okay, I'll teach them on extreme ownership. Okay, I'll teach them on strategic coach. Okay, I'll teach them on this. And it was amazing, all the stuff, what they brought out of the group and how they were able to put in their business and apply. So it was beneficial not only to the people who attended, but it was very beneficial to me because since I started that group, our business has been from a CPA firm on a jet stream, right? Basically from a growth perspective.
It's a good thing you bring that up, right? So we can, like I was mentioning, we can get in our own tunnel vision because we know our profession. And if we don't keep our mind open to say, hey, I'm going to listen to new ideas, I'm going to be humble enough to realize I don't know everything, then we close off a lot of untapped opportunity and we don't even realize it's there. We're just like,
Correct.
hmm. So I really love that idea. And it's just having the mindset, being humble enough, and then opening that door and having those conversations. I always bring up the example of Rocky 3. You familiar with Rocky 3, the one with Mr. T and Hulk Hogan?
Oh, Mr. T. I remember Mr. T. Yeah, on the Rocky 3. Not as well. I probably. Which one was the one he fought the Russian? Was that 2
I
or
think that's
4?
4. Yeah, so
Okay.
so and Rocky 3 is the one, it's the eye of the tiger. He
Okay.
he he won the championship in 2, and then in 3 he's like, "Oh, I'm signing all these autographs. I'm the real deal." He loses the eye of the tiger, and Mr. T comes up hungry and beats him up, and he has to get the eye of the tiger back.
Right.
And that's what I can see happen. Some of the biggest um, prospects, the people that are most ideal for me to help are the ones that are already doing good and maybe can make some little adjustments here and there. But the
Hmm.
challenge I have sometimes is they think, oh, I kind of already know everything. I'm good enough right now. We got everything under control and aren't even open to looking at those opportunities. And sometimes it's like, well, you could be, but it never hurts to look. Uh,
Right. Hey, two books. I know this isn't like the book, right? But two books that I'm listening to and reading right now that are
mhm,
really great. One is Winning by Tim Grover.
okay.
And it's Tim Grover was the personal trainer for Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and everything. But he talks about how people, that they think winning is their friend. But once you start winning, that's when it all of a sudden, he talks about the fleeting glimpse of winning, right? And it's really good about the mindset. One story that stood out is that the way he got Michael Jordan as a trainer, he
Hmm.
was a personal trainer making $3.35 an hour in
Wow.
Chicago. He had his master's in physiology. He decided he always wanted to train athletes. He says, I'm going to write a letter to everyone on the Chicago Bulls, except Michael Jordan, because he's like, Michael Jordan would never need me. And um, Michael Jordan read the letter on in the locker of one of his and the doctors from the Chicago Bulls and everything called him and he never knew who he was going to train, and all of a sudden he shows up at Michael Jordan's door, and Michael Jordan's like, I don't think it will work, and he had absolute confidence. He says, this will work, and he says, okay, I'll give you 30 days. Oh, and by the way, you got to buy all the equipment for me. I'll pay you, but I need it delivered to my house because I'm not working out. I can't work out in public gym. And this was back in the 90s, I think, or 80s, where that was like impossible. But Tim Grover ended up getting all the equipment in Michael Jordan's house the next day for them to train.
Hey there, this is Kenny from Growth Amplifiers, here to ensure you get your awesome ideas into action to grow and improve your business and achieve your full potential. Take the first step by visiting growthamplifiers.com and clicking the Start Here button. Take the assessment to get your personalized score. Then select from free resources to learn how to improve your score. Don't wait. Be proactive and take action now by visiting growthamplifiers.com and clicking the Start Here button. And always keep on amplifying. Now, let's get back to the show.
So cool.
Tim
Hold on.
Grover.
Tim Grover winning.
So, if you're tuning in now, I would suggest checking out that book. You might see in my podcast, I've got all these books in the background here, and they're not just for show. They're books that I read, books that I listen to, and even if you just grab one idea from a book, or you get one concept, or maybe you even refresh it or see it from a different perspective or strengthen it in your mind, all that adds up. All of it has value. Thank you for sharing, Mike.
Yes, and the second book, and I don't know if you've read any Patrick Lenciani.
Yes, Lencioni,
So
yes.
The Advantage is a really, really great book, because I was talking to some other CPAs, and the biggest struggle in our industry right now, and I think in a lot of industries, is building a team, right? Every CPA usually gets to the point of their business where they're, at least leveraged, right? Right. They've got a receptionist, they got maybe a personal assistant, they've got a couple people helping them, but their struggle is building this dynamic team, right? You know, that's that's the struggle. That's the struggle with every business, right?
Hmm.
Knowing what to do is not the issue. Knowing the expertise, like doing the tax plans, doing the CFO work, everyone knows how to do that. It's building a team that gets it done without you there. And Patrick has I've really dug into his stuff, actually hired someone to help with our business and realized, hey, and he's a big Patrick Lenciani. And so I started reading some of the books, and it's like he's just taking me through this playbook, and it's worth it. But I'm sitting there going, as a CPA, I'm like, hey, I got to figure out how to do this for my clients, right? Because
Right.
it was like $12,000 for 2 days of training, which was worth it. But training is only, you've got to live it,
Yes.
right? And so the thing is, but that's the biggest thing. When I talk to other CPAs, I always hear team, team, team. Like our mutual friend, he'll tell you team, team, team is the biggest issue. And so I've been getting deep into that, and that's been a great eye opener for us.
Yes, I concur. And I've seen that, and that goes back to you don't know what you don't know. You know your business, but then if you haven't had certain experiences, you're not going to know the best path for it. If you're battling the day to day whirlwind, then trying to do something new at the same time while herding cats and expectations, it
Hmm.
becomes its own challenge. So, getting like you said, have a roadmap, and then sometimes working with a guide to help you implement. That's
Right.
another thing sometimes I hear too is like, oh, well, I could just do it on my own, and we could, but sometimes having the help with implementation makes a big difference.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I definitely. I'm a big believer in hiring outside help. Um, that's been the biggest. If people ask me, you know, how do you have a CPA firm? You got 21 people. You've grown from, I think 10 years ago we were 3 people, right?
mm,
So the thing is we've done it by what you're saying is looking outside and saying there's got to be something better. Someone's got to know something more than I do. Someone's got to know something, right? So I've been members of all sorts of CPA groups. One of the big things that we did was we signed up for Strategic Coach probably 10 or 11 years ago, just to sort of, and it sounded too good to be true, to be honest with you. It's one of those things like, hey, this guy's joking. I'm going to double my business. I'm going to take more time off. I'm going to whatever, you know what I'm saying? And it was true. I mean, the thing is um, it helped you start thinking outside that, wow, there's this whole other thing out there. If I focus on relationships, I multiply opportunity. If I focus on delegation, I multiply income. If I focus on strengths and forget about my weaknesses, I become a more powerful business owner. I mean, those are truths, right? If I have a vision, I'll get there quicker, right? These are basics. Everyone says basic, but the thing is living them is not basic, right? Knowing that, hey, all those things is very basic, but actually doing it requires winning, right? So,
I like saying, there's what you know, and then what you do, and then there's the results that you want. And if you can know it, that's great. But if you're not doing it, then you're missing something. And if you don't, if even if you're doing it, but you still don't have the result, then you still have a gap. So
right.
it doesn't matter
Well,
what you know, it doesn't matter what you do. It matters, are you getting the result? And I like what you said there, Mike. It's you've got to live it. And I think I know I've made that mistake myself in the past. I see others making that mistake. They're looking for the quick fix. They're looking for the let me just learn this new thing and see rapid change. And it really requires changing the mindset and then changing the actions to change the result. I think it's like be do have from
right.
Zig Ziglar,
Mhm.
right? So awesome stuff. You're sharing some really awesome information, and we're just gonna jump. We'll do these a little quicker, but so you can already tell just by hearing your voice that you do things differently. You think differently. You act differently. When you're talking to potential clients or prospects that maybe don't know you and they're getting to know you and they're looking around, what is it that you tell them about your business? How do you differentiate it versus maybe a different business that may offer a similar service? How do you differentiate?
Well, the biggest thing is through our core values, right? We try to live and breathe our core values, and we try to communicate to our client, right? So we're not the firm for everyone. We're a concierge CPA firm, so we do things a little different. But it comes to our core values of care, right? We care about our clients deep, right? And so because of that, we have relationships with clients throughout the year. We're not transaction accountants. We're not someone you just drop off your returns and do stuff. You're usually going to be meeting with us 4 times a year minimum. A lot of clients we meet with monthly. A lot of clients we call monthly, weekly, and so that's the big difference is care. The second core value that I think differentiates us is extreme ownership, right? We own it, right? When you're a client, we own it. I mean, the thing is we don't blame the client. We don't. blame it. We take responsibility. If you tell us we're going to do this, we're going to make sure it gets done, right? The
Mm-hmm.
third core value is Pareto, right? And Pareto is that 80-20 rule that says, hey, we're going to focus on what really matters. We're accountants, we get tied up on like the $500 meals and entertainment deduction or something like that. Sometimes when, a client's got $1 million of income, trust me, we get lost in the details sometimes, but the core value is, hey, what's really going to make a difference,
Mm.
right? What's the 20% that's going to make a difference? So those three core values, I think, just distinguish us from our competition. And really, right now we just got some capacity. We're on a waiting list, and so now that we're working on our processes, I really feel like we're going to just grow some more. I think there's a waiting list. So
That is remarkable. I just love how you articulate what you do and your philosophy that you live by. And I'm saying that it may seem like I'm gushing a little bit, but I'm being sincere.
well,
And
thank you.
no offense if you're the CPA tuning in and saying, "Hey, what the heck?" I've come to see that there are some who've learned their profession and they know it, and that they just want to stay there. And this is probably not the ones listening to growth amplifiers anyway. So don't feel offended if you hear this. but some just, all right, this is what I do. This is the way I've always done it, and that's the way I'm always going to continue to do it. And while there's nothing wrong with knowing your profession and not trying to expand in some ways, it's limiting when you don't. When you don't look to see how else you can improve, how else you can provide transformation. If you're getting caught up in those minutia details and not looking at the bigger picture, then it's a disservice, right? So I think that's something to think about, is just how can we continually provide better experiences. And this is pretty much the last question we had, which um, is how to provide excellent experiences for customers. What are ways that you craft a memorable experience? And when you're interacting with them, you already kind of shared with us that you provide more than just um, give
it
us your stuff and
it
we'll get
brings
it
us
done.
to our fourth core value, which is value, right? I think the way we create a memorable experience for our client, well, first of all, it's all about the front stage too. We greet our clients by name. We have a coffee menu. We have an espresso machine. If they've been here before, we remember what drink they have. We offer that, right? It's very
Mm,
simple. Simple. Hey, we care about you. But the biggest thing is too is then we're going to create value, right? You got to create value for the client, and you got to give them something that they feel is valuable. A lot of times we do that through tax planning. A lot of times we do that through financial advice, and sometimes we just do it through business advice, right? Because we're always trying to help our clients get to the next level, just like you. How do you get to the next level?
right.
One thing I liked your last question, and I know we got like 1 minute,
Sure.
but how do you get rid of fear? And that's that I thought was a great question. I wanted to answer it because I'm working on that. As a business owner, one of my serious flaws is that I have a hard time confronting people. I have a hard time, uh, I either do it too harshly or don't do it, right? So the thing is so what I've been doing, and Kenny, you've probably seen some of this because I know we're friends on Facebook, but I've been doing some of these challenges. Like I did one challenge, the 44 Fearless Challenge, where you did 2 minutes of Facebook Live, you did a bunch of things. I was trying to do that challenge again. I sort of washed out on it. But I am now doing Hard 75, which is by I forget his name. I want to say Nick, but Fertilla, some guy named Fertilla wrote, and it's been pretty good about, you know, I take a cold shower for 5 minutes. I don't know if that's optional, but anyway, I do like the cold showers as a 55-year-old man. I've been doing 2 workouts a day, 45 minutes, one outside. Today will be my first outside workout that sucks. Then the third thing is you drink a gallon of water. The fourth thing is you take a picture. And the fifth thing, which is the hardest for some people, which probably is the hardest for everyone, is a strict diet. Strict diet, no cheat meals, no alcohol, no feed meals, none of that garbage, right? I'm quoting the guy who did it. And what it's supposed to do is teach you to face that inner, to get a little more discipline, to get a little more edge. He got it from the book Winning, and he also got it from the Iron Cowboy, who's the guy who ran 50 triathletes or 50 ultra marathons, not
Wow.
in 50 days in 50 states. It was great, unbelievable. Yeah, so cool.
Makes me want to go work out. No, Mike, really cool. And I do appreciate you sharing this because I know people need to hear it. Um, we should be getting outside of our comfort zones. We should be challenging ourselves, not to the point where we're completely overwhelmed, but to the point where we're giving ourselves a challenge. That's how we grow.
Hmm.
So if you're tuning in, Mike, and people want to learn more about you and what you do, where would be the best place to go and to send them?
The best place is the website meilinger.us. That's MEILINGER.us. And then basically they can reach us through there, and gladly answer anyone's questions or talk to anyone. So thank you. I want to thank you. I'm very grateful that you let me on this podcast. So it's an
Uh,
honor.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
He's
And
an
thank you.
awesome rock star professional. He knows his stuff, whether it's about mindset, whether it's about staying healthy and staying fit, whether it's about providing awesome service to his clients, helping them transform those that they serve. Is a really inspirational guy. Mike, I appreciate your time for connecting with us and sharing with us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Kenny. Appreciate you.
To show your support, take a moment to amplify this message by sharing it online. To connect with me or gain more business growth insights, visit www.growthamplifiers.com. Thank you for your support.